Alexa, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? If you're active and you're attractive host, paid the cost podcast.
From healthline.com. And central nervous system.
Teflon Don from Paid Podcast.
Sure, Slim Thug. I'll find some podcasts you might like from Different Slim. Would you like to play?
When is it okay to snitch?
Sorry, I don't know that.
I mean, people got this misconception of what snitching
Sorry,
is
I don't know
and
that
what
one.
loyalty is. I tend to believe that a lot of people develop loyalty to who they're friends with. Because a lot of times you can know that your friend is, not loyal at all. But you arrive behind him 100%. So my question is, does that put your loyalty in question when you ride behind your homie, which you're supposed to? I guess they say right or wrong, but I'm going to tell my man is it right or wrong, but he ain't going to put me in a situation where he's going in wrong. So that's what people sit there and say, I ride with my homie right or wrong, but your real homie won't put you in a situation where you got to ride with him. So what is your definition of snitching, and when is it okay to snitch? I mean, chime in and let me know something. I want to hear something. Can y'all tell me something? Can y'all tell me when it's okay to snitch? Because I just want to know what everybody's definition of that is. Since everybody loyal, what's the definition of snitching? What is your definition of snitching? How would you consider snitching? In what situation would you put yourself in to say that you were snitching? Nowadays, I can see that like things like this, exposure. People are exposing people, left and right nowadays. I mean, you can see it all through, the media. These, P. Diddy, Drake, all these different artists. Things are coming out that was hidden at one time. Things that wasn't talked about. So, things that wasn't talked about years ago. At one point in time, these people was loyal to one another. But where did that loyalty change at, and what made that loyalty change? So, my question to you is, when is it okay to snitch, and what is snitching to you? Because at one point in time, for someone that had to snitch on you, they had to be loyal to you. Because no one that don't know nothing about you can't tell nothing about you, period. So how loyal are these people that's coming out, people got themselves involved with? that was, supposed to not never being told, or talked, or, these agreements that everybody signed. What happened to all that? This is the year of the exposure. People have ran from the truth so long. If you sit back and think about, at the time, when God was, um, not to be a Bible thumper or anything, but I did tell the truth. Jesus didn't do nothing but tell the truth, and they crucified with the truth. So that goes to show you how much people is afraid of the truth. You know, so how far do your loyalty go to who uh, to who you friends with? So why don't y'all chime in and tell me what snitching is to y'all? Put into those comments. Talk to me. I talk back. It's early in the morning. Let's get it. Um, so you gotta find out what you consider snitching, and what's your definition of snitching to me. You know, I question a lot of people's loyalty, and been questioning a lot of people's loyalty because people's loyalty have been coming. Loyalty is not to the person, so to speak. Loyalty have been to the money. Because people's loyal is to the money. Once the money run out, their loyalty to you goes. So what is loyalty? Loyalty is money, I guess. Um, and loyalty is just a matter of time, because sooner or later, you know, everything that you spoke about, everything that you be about, is going to be exposed. You're going to be exposed of being a fake, being a fraud, and actually being, a slime ball. We got a lot of people, in my city. I can't speak about no other cities right now, but I can speak about my city. They ride behind these snitches. They wholeheartedly ride behind them because that's their homeboy, or that's their home girl. But do that make that right? Do that make you right? Because 100 is 100. 100 ain't, just because I'm your homeboy. You know what I mean? I'm able to be a slime ball to other people, and you're not supposed to see that slime ball that's in me. Because if I'm your homeboy, you see slime ball that's in me to the next person, you better believe it's gonna be in there for you. Riding with your homie is totally different than seeing slime ball that's in your homie. Those are two different entities. Because we know what a slime ball is. You got people that's not actually understanding that when it comes to the street stuff, everybody is not made up for it. Everybody's not made to be out here. Just because your homeboy cool, don't mean he deserve that bag. You know what I mean? You put that bag in his hand, then you expose the whole new different character. And the character that you probably exposed, you're not ready for that one. Because it's kind of like a cancer. It's gonna eat through your whole unit, my boy. You know what I mean? You can't not miss the fact that a slime ball is just going to be just that to whoever it is. It just they haven't been the opportunity for them to get you. You know, so I say, like I say again, people are loyal to the wrong thing, and I never been the type of person that honor snitching. Because like I said, I've been in the game, just as high, just as low as anybody. You know what I mean? I ain't never made no millions of dollars or nothing, but you know what I mean, I was okay at one point in time. I took care of my mama, took care of my kids. I did everything that I was supposed to do. I got up off the game like I was supposed to do. And I kept my ear to the streets. Even when I was industry as far as working, I was still in the streets. So I never lost touch with the streets. And I don't understand, why people don't, see that. So when I talk from, sure conviction of, what I mean, my my business is still in the streets. I was born in the streets. I mean, literally, so I got to be of the streets. I mean, I don't got, and as I developed, the ability to move through the streets, the way that I supposed to, my way, um, I pushed through it. I never was no snitch, never went to the joint, never caught no case. I mean? I never told on nobody, none of that. So I believe that the words, that I say should be honored in one way or the other. But half of your, neighborhood heroes that y'all love and that y'all glorify, are snitches, are rats. They've been to the joint. They've been to the Fed pen. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell you a little something about your friendly neighborhood drug dealers that's been caught up into conspiracy cases. You may feel that your homeboy is solid because he went to the Fed joint, done 10, 15, or maybe even 20 years. Okay, well, honor that. But what you got to understand is, when they get caught up into a conspiracy case, especially if they got a lengthy criminal history, they're gonna take a proffer. And once they take that proffer, that means they just got to tell their part of what they did into this conspiracy. And when they tell their part of what they did inside this conspiracy, naturally, you got to know that they telling. Because if they tell the story, I used to cop 10, 15 birds from A, B, C, and D 3 times a week. They didn't just told on A, B, C, and D 3 times a week. And then what they would do in turn, go to A, B, C, and D, and A, B, C, and D would tell them about C, D, E, F, and G, which was all together. So once this whole story, could correspond with each other, the whole conspiracy ring, the end, they didn't turn into snitches. They just didn't have to testify. They didn't have to get in front of the court and testify. That's what that is. Behind closed doors, they're telling on each other. And they're collaborating with what one another telling. So if your homeboy done 10 years in the Fed joint, he probably was going to get 40, 30. If he done 20 years in the joint, he probably was going to get 60. because you know what I mean. It's your jacket that really gets you when it comes to the feds. You know what I mean. Yeah. The state is it's the same thing as far as your convictions, as far as your felonies, as far as your the time that they'll give you. But when it comes to the Fed, you know what I mean. You on a point system, and there's a point system for everything. And once those points go up, you know what I mean, your time goes up. You know what I mean? So that's why they tell you that the Feds have a 98.9 conviction rate. You know, it's kind of like impossible to beat the Feds. So, you know what I mean? Like I said, you know what I mean, your neighborhood, you know what I mean, drug dealer hero that y'all love, is most of them are snitches. You know what I mean? They didn't took a property. They didn't told they part of of this ring. If I tell who I was getting mine from, how I was getting it from, when I was getting it from, where I was getting it from, you know what I mean? And then the next person tell the same thing. We all in the same ring. Come on now. Come on now. Y'all got to understand what's going on. So that's why I tell you, the truth walks alone. A lie, anybody can pick up a lie. A lie can take a hit to ride with anybody, but the truth gonna walk alone. So what is your definition of snitching? And when is it okay? Talk to me. I'm ready. Come on, talk to me. What's your definition of snitching, and when is okay to snitch? Look, like I said, I mean, most of your neighborhood heroes, I mean, that caught these conspiracy cases, I mean, most of them are snitches. I mean, like I said, I'm gonna say it again. They all take a profit because they all got to tell they part of the, what they did inside this conspiracy. If you sit down with the DA and tell what you did, tell them that you're going to get, your work from A, B, C, and D. You know what I mean? What is you doing? Then A, B, C, and D come back telling them about A used to sell this and that to you. You know what I mean? Y'all just telling the story, to the DA on each other and not going on the stand. But people tend to put the cover over your eyes because they done 10 years in the Fed joint, or they done 20 years in, because they jacket was so dirty up with these point systems. You know what I mean? Most of us that's out here in the streets, what I mean, got lengthy criminal histories. And we don't understand how that come into play. And when that come into play, you know what I mean, it's hard to get past anything. Because one thing you can't do is, you can't outrun, what I mean, tell my nephews and kids, what I mean, don't get judged by the book, because the book ain't gonna play with you. You know what I'm saying? The book is not gonna play with you. There's nowhere where they these people tell you they promise you things. If you're being judged by the book, that means there's nothing. I want you to understand that if you're being judged by the book, there's nothing that they can promise you. Because if they promise you something, they're violating somebody's constitutional rights. Somebody somewhere's constitutional rights are being violated once they make these promises to you after you've violated the law. Because you got to be judged accordingly. So if that's the case, why would they put your hand on the Bible and tell you solemnly swear? Come on now. These are the biggest liars that was created by man. And this court system was made to protect them against us. Us, the Asiatic black man. There was no law of freedom, of slavery. Then no law exist. Then no laws exist until freedom was abolished, until slavery was abolished. Sorry about that. So it goes to tell you, know what I mean, laws were made up, solely for us to protect them against us. But yet they're protecting, we're protecting them, and we're hurting each other. So how do that go? How do that work? So how do we get this stigma, snitching? Because a lot of people have a lot of definitions for it. A lot of people give a lot of excuses for it. A lot of reasons why they said it, or while a lot of reasons why they didn't. So when is it okay to snitch? Come on now, talk to me. I talk back. I'm mad at y'all, you know what I mean? I paid the cost podcast, you hear me? Talk to me. Talk back. That's right. So go chime in and talk to me. But you're gonna have to always, understand that, loyalty goes a long way. And it's hard to build and it's easy to break. If this is supposed this long time I've been, alive. Where is the loyalty at? You got best friends and brothers and stabbing each other in the back for their freedom. Everybody want the glorification, but don't nobody want the pain. You know what I mean? Don't nobody, wanna, take the hard route. Everybody want to take the easy route out. You know what I mean? You want to get caught up, you want to tell. Make it seem like it's okay. Because that's your homeboy. Yeah, he just had a baby. So I could see why he told. Man, come on now, let's stop that. When is it okay to snitch? Because a lot of it difference from city to city. You know what I mean? Because there's snitches all over this motherfucker. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna tell you for one, for you motherfuckers that is snitching, y'all really think the police really like y'all? The police don't like y'all not one motherfucking bit. They just gotta use you. And when they use you and they use you up, they put you out there. And when they put you out there, you know what I mean? Now your life is in jeopardy. In a real city, motherfuckers can't, you can't move around in a real city and you know what I mean, you'll be a known snitch and being a known snitch. Only in these motherfucking cities where these Caucasians protecting you motherfuckers. There ought to be some. um, that gets together and get out there and get them snitches, because everybody know who you are. You just keep on denying it. Your homeboys know you're snitching, so that makes them just as guilty, because they can talk about everybody else but talk about you, because you their homeboy. Snitches is okay long as it's your homeboy in this city, Kalamazoo, Michigan. Kalamazoo snitching, should I say? I never seen a place where you got so many gangsters, but the snitches outnumber the gangsters, because the gangsters then turned into the snitches. The gangsters then turned to the pranksters. You know what I'm saying? It just, and a lot of this is honored by people that you wouldn't expect. You wouldn't expect a lot of this, this loyalty to be honored by some people, but you got to understand that, because they claim, hey, these are my people, they're my folks, I fuck with them. They ain't gonna tell on me. No, come on now, man. They just ain't got the opportunity to tell on you. Or you may not even be doing nothing that they can't tell on. These people is on the payroll. And a lot of, you better stop missing that. You better stop missing the point, because I'm gonna tell you something. The police can't catch nobody for them to enforce anything, and people got to give them the case. So when it comes to running your mouth, talking, don't get me wrong. There are certain things where the police have to enforce. So I'm not just sitting there, saying, they're no good for us when it comes to getting a quota, because sometimes, all you got, they whole thing is just, getting the rest. And usually, when they talk about these crime numbers, the racial makeup of different crimes, a lot of times, it's targeted. And that's where you get the racial profiling and things like that from. Because they really want you or us as blacks to be looked at as a certain way, to the point where you got, your crime, your crime rate is so high, being that blacks were, but at the same time, it's like every little case that, not to sit there and say that, everything that, every time you see a black person, something get long, because we some motherfuckers, but at the same time, most things are put on us just to get their numbers and quotas right. You got over half of us blacks and Hispanics that's in the joint. is actually innocent. You become a commodity. You know what I mean? And it's all about business. Once so for you to not think that they need crime to happen, you're a fool. Crime is big business. Why you think they got the war on this and the war on that? You know what I mean? It's and they bring the dope here. They put the dope in the cities, and they arrest us for selling the dope in the cities. They put us in poverty-stricken areas, and then they lock us up, turn us against one another, and we don't see that. So my question again: when is snitching okay, and when is snitching to you? That's something I would like to know. That's something I would like to know. When is snitching okay, and what is snitching to you? Like I said, it's just a look in the city where your neighborhood heroes, mostly all of them, are snitches. Solid is only for a time being. So what I mean, the longer you stand to anything, you're gonna get caught up in it. So you're gonna have to learn how to maneuver and move in certain ways that being in the streets is not supposed to be something that you're supposed to use as a lifetime job. It's a stepping stone. Once you step on that stone, you're supposed to step off and then but we got people stepping off and standing on that same plateau and thinking that, hey, this is what it is. But somebody got a job to knock you off that plateau. And the longer you stay on there, they're gonna do that because they're gonna send some infiltrators to you. And once they send those infiltrators to you, they're gonna be the one. The infiltrators are gonna be the ones that's closest to you, the one that's calling you bro, homie, sis, homegirl. Those are the ones they're gonna send at you. For every 10 people, I'm gonna say this. In my city, I'm just it's just me just thinking, in a crowd of 10 niggas, 5 of them snitches or have snitched. And that's for sure. Could be more. But I'm going to tell you, in my city, Kalamazoo, Michigan, you got 10 niggas standing together. 5 of them snitched at one point in time. For sure. Maybe more. And those numbers are staggering. They're scary. Where's the loyalty at? I come from the age, where, loyalty was something that we stood up on. If it wasn't loyalty, it wasn't nothing. I got the game from the old heads, and the old heads got the game from the older heads. But this generation don't want to move in their own direction, their own way. And I understand and I get that. But there's a chain of command, and there's a chain that's got to be pulled, and it's all coming a certain way. It can't be no breakage in it. You know what I mean? You know, our understanding may be different, but our direction, our pull got to be the same. So, like I said, us here at Paid the Cost Podcast, I mean, we talking about the real. We don't care how you feel. You know what I mean? We trying to get to the bottom of the truth. Because a lot of people run from the truth. You know what I mean? Just like my daddy always told me, he said, son, a lie could hit you right with anybody. But the truth is always going to walk up alone. He says, that's why you see me by myself. Because I'm here to get to the bottom of the truth. Who's snitching? What's snitching? And when another episode Paid the Cost Podcast. Hit that like and share button, more content. You're active and you're attractive host. Teflon Don. Paid the Cost Podcast.